Good morning. Welcome back to the Southern Bible Thumper channel. For this upload, we will be reading Joshua chapter 10. Now it came to pass, when Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, had heard how Joshua had taken Ai and had utterly destroyed it, as he had done to Jericho and her king, so had he done to Ai and her king, and how the inhabitants of Gibeon had made peace with Israel and were among them, that they feared greatly, because Gibeon was a great city, as one of the royal cities, and because it was greater than Ai, and all the men thereof were mighty. When Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, sent unto Hoham, king of Hebron, and unto Piram, king of Jarmuth, and unto Japhia, king of Lachish, and unto Deber, king of Eglon, saying, Come up unto me, and help me, that we may smite Gibeon, for it hath made peace with Joshua and with the children of Israel. Therefore, the five kings of the Amorites, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, the king of Eglon, gathered themselves together and went up, they and all their hosts, and encamped before Gibeon, and made war against it. And the men of Gibeon sent unto Joshua to the camp of Gilgal, saying, Slack not thy hand from thy servants, come up to us quickly, and save us, and help us, for all the kings of the Amorites that dwell in the mountains are gathered together against us. So Joshua ascended from Gilgal, he and all the people of war with him, and all the mighty men of valor. And the Lord said unto Joshua, Fear them not, for I have delivered them into thine hand. There shall not a man of them stand before thee. Joshua therefore came unto them suddenly, and went up from Gilgal all night. And the Lord discomfited them before Israel, and slew them with a great slaughter at Gibeon, and chased them along the way that goeth up to Beth Horon, and smote them to Azekah, and unto Makkedah. And it came to pass, as they fled from before Israel, and were in the going down to Beth Horon, that the Lord cast down great stones from heaven upon them unto Azekah, and they died. They were more which died with hailstones than they whom the children of Israel slew with the sword. Then spake Joshua to the Lord in the day when the Lord delivered up the Amorites before the children of Israel, and he said in the sight of Israel, Sun, stand thou still upon Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of Ajalon. And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed, until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is not this written in the book of Jasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, and hasted not to go down about a whole day. And there was no day like that before it or after it, that the Lord hearkened unto the voice of a man, for the Lord fought for Israel. And Joshua returned, and all Israel with him, unto the camp to Gilgal. But these five kings fled, and hid themselves in a cave at Makkedah. And it was told Joshua, saying, The five kings are found hid in a cave at Makkedah. And Joshua said, Roll great stones upon the mouth of the cave, and set men by it, for to keep them. And stay ye not, but pursue after your enemies, and smite the hindmost of them. Suffer them not to enter into your cities, for the Lord your God hath delivered them into your hand. And it came to pass, when Joshua and the children of Israel had made an end of slaying them with a very great slaughter, till they were consumed, that the rest which remained of them entered into fenced cities. And all the people returned to the camp to Joshua at Makkedah in peace. None moved his tongue against any of the children of Israel. Then said Joshua, Open the mouth of the cave, and bring out those five kings unto me out of the cave. And they did so, and brought forth those five kings unto him out of the cave, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon. And it came to pass, when they brought out those kings unto Joshua, that Joshua called for all the men of Israel, and said unto the captains of the men of war, which went with him, Come near, put your feet upon the necks of these kings. And they came near, and put their feet upon the necks of them. And Joshua said unto them, Fear not, nor be dismayed. Be strong and of good courage, for thus shall the Lord do to all your enemies against whom ye fight. And afterward Joshua smote them, and slew them, and hanged them on 5 trees, and they were hanging upon the trees until the evening. And it came to pass at the time of the going down of the sun, that Joshua commanded, and they took them down off the trees, and cast them into the cave wherein they had been hid, and laid great stones in the cave's mouth, which remain until this very day. And that day Joshua took Makkedah, and smote it with the edge of the sword, and the king thereof he utterly destroyed, them and all the souls that were therein. He let none remain. And he did to the king of Makkedah as he did unto the king of Jericho. Then Joshua passed from Makkedah, and all Israel with him, unto Libnah, and fought against Libnah. And the Lord delivered it also, and the king thereof, into the hand of Israel, and he smote it with the edge of the sword, and all the souls that were therein, he let none remain in it, but did unto the king thereof as he did unto the king of Jericho. And Joshua passed from Libnah, and all Israel with him, unto Lachish, and encamped against it, and fought against it. And the Lord delivered Lachish into the hand of Israel, which took it on the second day, and smote it with the edge of the sword, and all the souls that were therein, according to all that he had done to Libnah. Then Horam, king of Gezer, came up to help Lachish, and Joshua smote him and his people, until he had left him none remaining. And from Lachish Joshua passed unto Eglon, and all Israel with him, and they encamped against it, and fought against it. And they took it on that day, and smote it with the edge of the sword, and all the souls that were therein he utterly destroyed that day, according to all that he had done to Lachish. And Joshua went up from Eglon, and all Israel with him, unto Hebron, and they fought against it. And they took it, and smote it with the edge of the sword, and the king thereof, and all the cities thereof, and all the souls that were therein, he left none remaining, according to all that he had done to Eglon, but destroyed it utterly, and all the souls that were therein. And Joshua returned, and all Israel with him, to Gibeon, and fought against it. And he took it, and the king thereof, and all the cities thereof, and they smote them with the edge of the sword, and utterly destroyed all the souls that were therein. He left none remaining. As he had done to Hebron, so he did to Gibeon, and to the king thereof, as he had done also to Libnah, and to her king. So Joshua smote all the country of the hills, and of the south, and of the vale, and of the springs, and all their kings. He left none remaining, but utterly destroyed all that breathed, as the Lord God of Israel commanded. And Joshua smote them from Kadesh Barnea, even unto Gaza, and all the country of Goshen, even unto Gibeon. And all these kings and their land did Joshua take at one time, because the Lord God of Israel fought for Israel. And Joshua returned, and all Israel with him, unto the camp to Gilgal. Summarizing Joshua chapter 10, the king of Jerusalem heard about Israel defeating Ai and Jericho. He heard about Gibeon's treaty. This is important because Gibeon is considered a royal city. They have a reputation in Canaan for having great fighters, and this city is larger than Ai. So Ai was the territory that Israel just conquered. Gibeon is a larger city, and instead of them wanting to take on Israel, they decided to beg for peace with them. So this royal city with these great fighters are so terrified of Israel that they decide to just make peace instead of fighting. The other kings that are living in Canaan, they are upset with Gibeon because instead of going to war with these people who are infiltrating, you want to make peace with them and just live underneath them as servants. So these kings got together, combined their armies, and decided to attack Gibeon. Gibeon asked Israel to please help. Joshua marched with the army all night, took the enemy by surprise under God's direction. Israel defeated these kingdoms, and God sent hail. Some translations say large stones. These kings want to attack Gibeon for making peace with Israel. They ask Israel to help. Israel helps, defeats this combination army, and then hail also helped Israel defeat the enemy. We get down to verses 12 through 14. On this day, Joshua commanded the sun stand still at Gibeon, and the moon in the valley. And the sun actually stood still, and the moon actually stopped. And then there's a reference. Is this not written in the book of Jashar? And Jashar is not a book in the Bible. I will come back to this. But the sun and the moon stayed this way under Joshua's command, and it does say in verse 14 that there's been no day like it since where God listened to the voice of man. I would debate that by talking about some of the things I saw in Moses when he was still living as a leader, some of the things he did, but I won't get into that. I've already talked about Moses. So Joshua returned to camp. The 5 kings fled to a cave. Some other survivors escaped. Then Joshua commanded that Israel bring the kings to him. Israel put their foot on these kings' necks, then killed them, and put their bodies on poles until evening. Once the evening came, Joshua took the kings down from off the poles, put them back into the cave that they were hiding in, and rolled the stone over the mouth of the cave. Verse 28. Israel defeated Makkedah and its king. Verse 31. Libnah was defeated. Verse 32. Israel attacks Lachish and the king of Gerar, the king of Jazer. Yeah, the king of Jazer came to help when Israel attacked Lachish, but King Jazer was defeated. Verse 34. Israel destroys Eglon. Verse 36. Israel destroys Hebron and its king. Verse 38. Israel conquers Debir. And then verse 40. Israel subdued the entire territory, then returned to Camp Gilgal. The first thing that I would like to just go over again, point out, try not to have any of my opinion or anything, any comments that I need to make in it. Verse 13, the book of Jashar. Now, when we look through here, this is all the listings of every book in the Bible. There's 66 books in the Bible. And when you look through here, we do not see Jashar. Now, Joshua is credited for writing this book. And when we look at this, scenario. Verse 12, Joshua spoke to the Lord. And you see these quotes. Quotes indicate dialogue. So he's talking about Moses. Joshua starts speaking. And he starts speaking in verse 12, telling the sun and the moon where to stand. But after that, that's the end. Joshua's not speaking anymore. He's writing this out as narration, explaining to us what happened, adding to the story. So he's the one referencing the book of Jashar. When we look at the interlinear, this is the closest translation that we have to the original format of the Bible, written in Hebrew. You have to read this from right to left, and that's what these characters are, actual Hebrew. The numbering and the punctuation is a little bit off, as we can see right here with verse 9. Takes a little bit of getting used to. What we're looking for is the book of Jashar. When we click on it, Bible Ref has this wonderful feature where you can get 7 translations of the same verse in the on screen at the same time. When we look at each translation, the book of Jashar, book of Jashar, 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 Jasher. It's a spelling that's a little bit different, A-R and E-R. Jasher. We look here, the scroll of the upright one. There is no Jasher in the original, or the closest resource that we have to the original format of the Bible. It's just called the upright one. So I clicked on it, and this is supposed to be a lost book. I don't even know what non-canonical. I don't know what that word means. Canonical, non-canonical. I don't know what this means. I'm trying to willfully, I don't want to say willfully be ignorant, but I want to give myself a chance to learn what things are based on just reading the Bible. So I'm trying not to just look up every single thing unless it's with a dictionary or with a version of the Bible. Book of the Uprights, Book of the Just Man. So of course there's another book, the Book of Enoch, and I think there's another one, the Book of Lilith. I would have to check again to see if Lilith is an actual book, but I know the Book of Enoch is a book, supposedly a lost book of the Bible. I just thought that's pretty interesting that this is being referenced. Joshua is referencing to the Book of Jasher, and there is no Book of Jasher in the Bible. The next thing that I wanted to point out in verse 5 names the 5 kings. When we look at verse 26, it says that Joshua struck the 5 kings to death and hanged them on 5 trees. Makes sense. But then we look at verse 36 to 37. That's when Joshua captured the king Eglon or Hebron. The reason why that's just something to point out is because when we got up in the beginning, verse 5, you see that Eglon and Hebron are 2 of the 5 kings mentioned. And in verse 26, these were the kings that were killed. Joshua struck them, put them 5 to death. So then if they were put to death in verse 26, then why 36 or 37 they're still talking about 2 of those kings? Maybe I misunderstood that, but this is something that stuck out to my mind when I read the entire thing. So, one thing to remember about all of this war, because a lot of the criticism about the Bible, oh, there's so much war, God is so warlike. We're living in a time period where the only options are war or slavery. There is no compromise. But you have to understand, Joshua's a young ruler. He has to establish himself in this new territory and among Israel. In order for Israel to have faith in him, they have to know that he's willing to carry out violence to protect his kingdom. He also has to show these people in this territory that he's willing to use violence to get peace for his people. Okay. Oh, also, when you're a builder, when you are building something, especially when a young man is building an empire, he has to be absolutely ruthless. There is no room for error when a young man is building because he has no credibility, he has no experience, he has no reputation. So he has to establish that. And that's what Joshua's doing here. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I love you. I know you love me too. Me and you are going to have a wonderful day.